The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Mid-Carolina Service Company.
Mid-Carolina Service Company is the first name to search for your residential or commercial HVAC needs in Lexington and surrounding areas.
Just go holler at Jason and Clint. They'll hook you up on the air conditioners, on the restaurant equipment, refrigerators, refrigeration, ice machine repair. They've been doing this for years. I know them cats forever.
Family owned and operated since 2006, they pride themselves in their quality work and customer relationships. Call 803-356-4153 or visit midcarolinaserviceco.com for a no obligation quote for service today.
The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by True Brilliance Entertainment.
True Brilliance is a production, promotions, and management company dedicated to connecting artists and producers across the Carolinas to music industry professionals.
Several of their clients have placements both domestic and internationally as a result of their services.
Are you an artist or producer looking to build meaningful relationships within the music industry? Then True Brilliance is for you. Check them out at paramilitary.com. That's spelled P-A-I-R-A military.com.
This episode of the Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Bob's. Bob's is a Columbia-based retailer of over 100 Black-owned products from 20 Black-owned businesses. Bob's offers a wide range of items from household cleaning, cosmetics, and everything in between. With every visit to Bob's, you support Black-owned businesses, giving them the opportunity to grow and establish connections with our community. Bob's is located inside the NOMA warehouse at 2222 Sumter Street in Columbia, South Carolina. Visit their website, weshopbobs.com, for in-store pickup or to find out more. Bob's can also be found via social media on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at weshopbobs. When you stop by, tell them the Hilltop Glove sent you. Bob's brings quality Black brands to the Columbia community. The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Red Rooster Sports Bar and Grill. Red Rooster is your neighborhood bar and grill serving the best wings, burgers, and baskets in the Met.
Like the amazing food, the bar is always on tap, and there's plenty of screens to watch the big game. Red Rooster is the Midland's premier meetup spot for local car and bike clubs, fraternities, and sororities.
Staff is dedicated to accommodating all kinds of parties and events. If you're looking to catch a game, have a bite, and a drink, look no further than the Red Rooster.
Red Rooster is located at 7500 Wilson Boulevard, Columbia, South Carolina. For more information, visit redroostersportsbar.com or visit them on Facebook, Instagram at Red Rooster Sports Bar. Go where the winners go.
Welcome to the Hilltop Glove Podcast.
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 Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Hilltop Glove Podcast. Today, we had the pleasure of interviewing Miss Cheryse Terry. Cheryse is a photographer, mother, and a vintage cafe owner. She is a native of Charlotte, North Carolina, where she is the owner of Archive Charlotte, a vintage enthusiast cafe geared towards providing vintage photography, rare publications, HBCU yearbooks, vintage-inspired posters, and first edition books for the community. They also host an array of community-engaging events such as coffee tastings, monthly book clubs, and wellness events. Her childhood was destroyed in a fire, leaving her with only 5 pictures of her younger self. This loss sparked an interest in archival documentary work. Most of her work is focused on capturing the homeless. She quotes, "Those are my people, and I know a lot of them may not have access to a cell phone or photography." Her debut exhibition, Black Gaze, Representation, Identity, Expression, showcased at the Light Factory in Charlotte back in January, featuring her and 5 other photographers, all mentored by Mr. Titus Brooks Higgins. There she learned how to produce film images in a darkroom for the first time ever. How are you doing today, Miss Terry?
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful introduction. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, excellent.
Thank you. I stalked you, girl. I stalked you.
I love that now.
I stalked you.
I love that.
Yeah, Tamaya's always on her ninja work.
I love it, Tamaya.
Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. We'll start off by, of course, we asked how you're doing today. It's a beautiful Saturday. I want to make sure everything is going well with you before we begin.
Yes, everything's going well. I'm excited.
Excellent. Excellent. So just straight off the top, we always ask everybody this. Just if you could just give us, our audience, a little bit of your background and a little bit of history of your childhood and what it was like growing up in Charlotte.
You honestly said a lot of it,
Good.
but I'll just add to it that me being a Charlottean, West Side Charlottean, my entire life, my experience was very unique.
Yeah.
Growing up here in Charlotte with older parents allowed me the opportunity to be around different types of people, especially growing up in the church, be around different people of all ages. And that's where you first learn your manners, how to public speak, your interests, honestly. You can kind of learn who you are. So I had a very humble upbringing. Didn't have the luxuries of life, materialistically, but it was full of love. So I think that really informed who I am now, who I look to become, actually.
Excellent. Could you explain a little bit about your passion then compared to where it is now and that evolution that you've had as a human?
I really can't say that I identified a passion in my younger years. I know I just had an interest in just anything creative. I collaged shoe because I didn't have a dollhouse. So I would take like a JCPenney catalog and cut out the Christmas trees and glue that inside. My Barbie would have a Christmas, okay? Little package. This was before American Girl doll came to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I dreamed of having me a damn bitty baby. And so I would cut one out for my Barbies and stuff like that. So I think I don't think that I identified a passion, but I've always had an interest in creativity. I taught myself how to sew and illustrate and just evolve in so many ways. And now I arrived to this. I've always was interested in vintage. I had a vintage clothing line, a little boutique, I guess, online boutique back in 2012 called Vintage Dreams. Okay. And I sold clothes out of my house and online and stuff. So I think the vintage portion is the one that has evolved, but has been remained consistent in my life.
Well, I love your style. I can definitely say that. I love your style, your whole aesthetic. Like I said, I stalked you. And I love the fact that you're a creative. So you use like multimedia and the way you express yourself. So as a creative person, can you tell us how important it is to have documentation and representation around you and in your community?
It's literally what has driven us. I'm afraid that we're going to face a way what slavery was like when we didn't have any relics to document because everything is digital. So I was telling a friend now that, like, God forbid you pass today and no one had your passcode to your phone. All the things you documented in your life, no one has access to your iCloud. The only thing we're left with is your social media stuff. Not the intimate stuff that you want to see or the stuff that's unfiltered that you want your kids to pass down to you. So I'm afraid that we're headed towards that way. So that's what archive is like, kind of, although like you stated, a lot of my memories was lost in a fire. It is important for us still to have physical memories around us. Even if, I don't know if any of you have children, but I print out my pictures still on Shutterfly and you'll be surprised at how your kids like love physical pictures of themselves. It could be last year and they actually respond differently to pictures. So it's important for us to document our work and our journeys, even our journaling, going back, looking at journals, reading my journals from 4 years ago, kind of seeing how far I've come in my thoughts and my interests. Important to kind of plan what's next for you.
Now, have you instilled this in your kids to document and archive the things that they're doing now?
Absolutely. My daughters, they have their little disposable camera. So today I went to take a selfie in her room and my daughter's 17. It was a little picture on her mirror, her boyfriend kissing. I'm like, what the hell is this?
She documented it, though.
Obviously, that means something to her. You know? I love it.
But yes, they do. And report cards and stuff. I have a plastic bag in my basement, which is crazy because I need to pull it out and put it, scrapbook it all. But their kindergarten report cards and letters they wrote me and all that type of stuff. So they see me practicing archiving. So they have developed their own practice as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I was just about to ask you, do you scrapbook and have yearbooks? And one more thing, are you a hoarder? Because you sound like a creative. We just grab things.
She said, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely a hoarder.
Yeah.
A hoarder.
Okay, so I don't feel bad.
Yeah, it is. Like, I was just recently telling my husband, like, our house is, I know people are like, oh, let's probably have big houses. And I did it first. Like, my house is mid-century modern. It's vintage. We renovated and all the things. And it was cool. And I was like, oh, this space would be nice. It's going to be minimalist. Ah, bullshit. The basement and the garage is full of my thrift finds and vintage finds. And that's what I'm headed to now, vintage market.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's like it'll all make sense one day at the Cheryse Museum.
Yes, the Cheryse Museum.
Because I was trying to figure out, I went by your shop. My brother took me by the coffee shop. And I was trying to figure out, like, where do you keep this stuff at? And how did it get in here? And et cetera. And now that you said that you hoard, it makes sense. Because some of the stuff was so dope, right? But at the same time, I'm like, how do you collect everything? And where do you source it?
Oh, 3 times the amount in my house. Like when my friends first came to check out archive before it opened, they look around like they do a one-trick pony. My house looks exactly the same with my bookshelves being black and it's being displayed the same way.
Wow.
I got my office full of stuff and everything. I'm constantly sourcing. Now that archive is here, you'll be surprised that the people from the community or people has heard about archive on different publications and like podcasts like this. They have reached out to me and mailed me stuff or asked me. Like, it's one lady said she has 1,400 Jet magazines that she wants to relinquish to me. Yeah, so
relinquish.
Stop. Did I use it right? Let me Google this.
No, you used it correct. You used it correct.
Wait a minute. I don't think I did. Hold on.
You did.
Do you remember the first thing you've archived?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was closed. It got to be closed. Yeah, it's relinquished. She giving it up.
She giving it up.
It was closed. I mean, I still have pieces from high school that I've thrifted. So it was started off with clothes.
That's amazing.
No, that is, because I'll tell you, man, I've always been taught, like, and it's interesting the point you made about us losing that ability to have things held physically to help document where we are, where we came from, and the importance of it. Because you are right, we are going into an extremely digitized world. And if power went out tomorrow, we're SOL for most part. You wouldn't be able to tell who did what, where went, et cetera, all that good stuff. The credit system would fall down and everything would start back from like stone ages, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I know being Black and being in America, not that it makes much of a difference, I always tease, it doesn't matter really who you are, but being able to have history to hold on to and know your story and where you came from is vitally important to be able to create a new path or move forward in life. So I agree with you totally on that. But how do we get folks in this day and age digitize everything's minimal to agree and move along with something like that?
And that's what I'm working through now, coming up to try to develop a software that will have like a shared drive amongst your family members to upload the pictures and give access to your family members. Because think about it, when you go to your grandma's house and your aunt's house, I don't know who, you're not taking no pictures up out of there. You take no pictures. Like, only time they see the pictures if somebody died, they had to pull it for the obituary. Then when grandma died, who divides the pictures? Who have access to your personal history? So encouraging the community, creating processes to where they will be able to scan it in and have a software that'll give everybody access to it.
That's so smart. Because like me being a photographer, I feel like I have an archive of everybody's life and history. And I feel a lot of pressure. Like, it's all on me. Like, and then my drive crashed and I'm like, dang, I just lost 10 years, 15 years of my life. And I'm the only one that had access to all these photos. So it's like, that's you're solving that problem.
And how we take pictures too, because, and I don't know about y'all, when I was young, my mom used to give me a disposable camera to go on the field trips with. But it would just be random. We just wanted to make sure we captured the time. But now everything is so curated. It's like, well, we have a real depiction of what our life was like. Everything being so curated.
Right.
Good.
Talking about curating. Can you talk to us about the Black Gaze and the Representation Identity Expression show? What was that like in developing that and learning under Mr. Titus Brooks Higgins?
Yes, Mr. Titus was, with his travels and all, like, he was very informative about how documentary photography was supposed to be, and more importantly, the relationships you have to develop in order to get those authentic images. Prior to that show, I had just bought a camera that year. So I didn't even think I was going to be selected amongst those photographers. Like, a lot of those guys are from here. And I mean, they taught me how to use a camera. So there's no way I thought I was going to be chosen to be in a group with them. But I was. He kind of like made us understand that it was important to see the humanity in people and them to feel the connection with you and understand you might visit somebody months before you ever take one shot of them, because in order to capture somebody or document someone in a vulnerable state, they have to be vulnerable with you.
Yeah.
So with me deciding to document Beatties Ford Road before Archive was even thought of, and before I even knew Archive was going to be on Beatties Ford Road, I've always had a connection to this side of town, for one, because I'm from over here, but for two, this is the historically Black part of Charlotte.
Yeah.
Like I stated, like the unhoused people over here don't have access to photography, don't have access to being documented. And if they are, it's people coming for exploitation, for the news and stuff, to say what's going on in the area. So I kind of want to capture them in their own habitat and just naturally, and so they can be seen. So even now in my cafe, I have people of the community hanging in here from that project, and they bring their friends in here. Like, I told you I was on the wall in here. Like,
that's so cool.
And so it's very rewarding for them to see themselves in this space and know, like, they themselves are and loved and accepted just how they are in the community.
Is it, just out of naivety, I must ask, is it kind of unnerving to get in people's interpersonal space and take documentation of them? How do you get over that feeling?
No, not really, because like the language is like, I feel like, and I've been asked this before, but it's because I'm from here. I know the language. I know the culture. I am this. So I don't feel a difference. I don't feel a barrier. I don't feel and they know that. They know that it's natural. I'm like, what y'all got going on out here? Like, y'all hanging out. Y'all ain't doing no work. Like, damn, I want to take a little picture. What you want to take a picture of me for? But damn, I can't get a little picture.
See, that's what I was wondering. But I see you speak the language. Yeah.
I speak the language. And they like, for real, what you gonna do? I'm like, because y'all ain't took no pictures and y'all deserve y'all art. Y'all deserve, for real, you think so? So by the end of my sessions out there, they're going to get each other. Like, the girl down there take pictures. I thought that I was going to face some resistance, and I didn't. They were like very embracing to what I was doing. And now that I have a business over here, it's so much respect. Some of those people who I've taken pictures of don't have anything to give me but a pick up trash from outside of my door without ask. So they'll just stop by and say, hey, I'm just proud of you. Don't bother me. Just like want to show love.
That's real love.
Yeah, so it's a level of pride that came with it.
That's amazing. I want to hear more about Archive Charlotte because I haven't visited, so I need to make my way up there. So can you tell us about being an entrepreneur and tell us about your journey and everything about what you guys have going on?
Well, I guess the business and the entrepreneur part is extremely new to me. I've always been a creative. I actually went by the name She's in the Mood one time because whatever I felt I did. It was like, this can make me some money. And like always monetizing my hobbies, which this is drastically different. Keeping up with the staff and pars and like running the cafe and making sure it's like the money balances at the end of the month is drastically different from the creative process.
Yeah, I'm going.
It has been a challenge, but I will say how they say the beauty is in the progress. And it was all summer. I was here building it up. Our crowd was able to crowdfund $40K in 40 days by the community and investors. Yeah, so I put the call out and needed the capital to open it. Felt like it was something the community needed. About it with, should I offer like a t-shirt in exchange? But I was like, no, I feel like I've planted a seed in my community and I'm going to see if it'll come back. And it did and continues to. So I first inquired about the space. Originally, it was going to be just a bookstore and a vintage shop. I consulted with a broker over here that had a vision for the strip because Archive is in the strip to be a coffee, have a coffee in here because it's a bank right here. It's going to be a bakery.
Yes.
And so I'm like, I don't know anything about coffee or beverage. Like I never worked in food or beverage. Yeah. And I was referred to a local roaster here who mentored me. And then I engaged the right staff, which is Black creatives in the culinary industry here. That gave an opportunity to. And it has panned out. So I followed my dreams, but my biggest revenue stream wasn't even something I set out to do. Like I still don't own a coffee maker in my house. I don't know much. I don't know anything.
Girl, wow.
I don't.
The coffee's good, by the way. Yeah.
It's delicious. It's delicious.
Yep, I had the espresso.
It's like, so I always say I really don't believe in a singular genius. I took the best of everybody in the city and engaged them and paid them properly, and this came together.
I like that. You're always a learner. I can tell. You always learn.
All the time. You can't listen. If once a day, no, you don't know nothing.
So can you tell us about the impact for the community? Are they looking to help you fundraise more, do more events, stuff like that?
Yes. So I think the community feels invested in Archive because a lot of people donated. I met a guy last week that it was his first time in. I opened in August, but last week was his first time in with his family. And the level of pride that he had when he come in, like, I was one of the donors. I'm like, okay. So people actually feel like it's theirs because whether it was $5 or $1,000, their personal money went into me building this. So that's very intimate. I have events here. Archive can be rented out for events. A lot of local photographers. He launched a book. He had his event in here, and that was very successful. I have applied for some grants. A lot of Secretary Marshall Fudge stopped by. Secret Service was in here. A lot of the local politicians have embraced Archive and take all their meetings here. So I feel like it's really like giving Vegas Fort Road a facelift and showing what they thought couldn't be done is actually being done.
That's wow. I'm proud of you.
No, you have definitely broken the mold over there. You have definitely broken the mold.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
How do you manage everything? Because you're still a mom. So how do you manage your life?
I have an assistant, Skinny J, my assistant. I love it. I've known him since high school, and he's very like stern. And so he approached me like, I'm going to be the events coordinator. I'm like, okay. At the time, I didn't know, like, okay, have it. But I actually needed him to kind of be, because when you open something new, something that the city don't have, you know, people want to do body painting in here.
Right. You got to set the tone.
Yes. Like, you be like, damn, I love my people, but you can't bake a turkey in the middle of the
Those chakras.
Yeah, you heal your chakras by balancing a turkey on your head and super power to you. Like, damn.
I'm glad you said that, though, because I think about that all the time, that premise. There's nothing wrong. And I'll put it like this. And this is one of the things I noticed when I went into the coffee shop for the first time. You could tell you're somebody that's for the culture, but you have a balance with it.
Yes.
So was I in here when you came?
No. Now, I've been twice, and the staff, I know, I think every time I've went, Alma was there. Alma's amazing. Alma's awesome.
Yeah, Alma is amazing. Yeah, I'm looking at her right now. She is amazing.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. But with the way it's designed, the way it's laid out, it's for the culture, but it's done in a clean, professional way. It's not messy.
Not brash.
I was looking at the pictures. I was like, I need this.
Yes. We can repeat that one more time. It is not nigga business. Yes.
Oh, am I allowed to say that? Is this a Christian podcast?
Freedom of speech.
Okay. Yeah, this is not nigga business.
But yeah,
and that's the thing.
And I made sure of that because, like, me, even down to me hiring a CPA to do my account work, I wanted to make sure that not only did I get Archive, but I was able to sustain Archive, and Archive was able to be scale. And if you start off a certain way, that's how things would be. You set the tone. So down to hiring, like, Alma is a Starbucks employee.
We learned that.
I
can tell. She pulled that during a special shot like a professional.
Yes, but even that, it's like a culture difference to what I'm trying to create at Archive. You know, it's very machine at Starbucks. It's very like robotic. But here I'm like, you are able to brand. Like I said, y'all are able to call her by name. And although Archive is great, she herself is great. So like trying to make sure that she's being developed. She wants her own cafe one day, making sure she understands what her people want and just the needs of what our community is or whatever. So yeah, that every part of the business has been strategic for sure to make sure it ain't nigga.
And I like that because for our podcast, teaching people the ropes and showing them the ropes, how to positively and properly do business, especially for something to create longevity. It's good for them to hear what you're saying. I remember back in college, we played intramural sports. And we used to always talk about having what we call our little brother teams, where we just have all our friends on our little basketball teams. It would never do well because the problem was we didn't have it set up in a proper format, meaning homeboy teams are cool, but like you said, it can't be running a nigga business. We got to have proper plays. You got to have people showing up for practice. And you got to put for that work so that you can at least do well, right? Structure, important.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to business, if you want it to last over a period of time and you want it to grow and to continue to move, you have to have that structure. So the fact that you're saying those little things you're saying, like bringing in a CPA to make sure your books are balanced right and so that you can move forward with business properly, what your outcomes are going to look like or what your outlook's going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now, having those plans in place. A lot of folks, especially millennials and young folks growing up, trying to push business, we don't get that information. We just jump out here. Okay, we have this together. We're just going to make it work, i.e. we're going to hustle. And instead of making it a hustle, we need to learn how to make it a business. And that's something that's, I think we need to continue to reiterate. And that's why it's nice to see how your business operates and the functionality along with the culture and the form of it is just beautiful.
Yeah, workflow is important.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you have a support system?
Absolutely. So I'm blessed to have the two investors that I decided on for my business. One of them is a business attorney. The other have several businesses that he's invested in and have a corporate background. So, I mean, I had a author, I'm sure that I ain't gonna name drop, but I have two authors who are New York Times bestseller, well over millions of followers that reached out to me first about being investors. Yeah. And although they're great ladies, and that would have been okay choice, I needed someone on my team that knew the business part. We could gain a following, we could gain the author community or whatever, but I needed somebody who knew the business to cut out a lot of mistakes from the beginning, which they have. They saved me so much of time and mistakes.
The heartache.
The wisdom. Yes. And just being realistic about the business. Like, truth be told, I haven't even paid myself yet from Archive. Like, all the money from my staff, my sales taxes, I have to reinvest back into the business. So it's not for the faint of heart. Like, the numbers are there, but not for myself, for the business. So you got to be willing to do it. And it's not a like cloudy type of, I'm a business owner, entrepreneurs, and I'm not about to go nowhere having you pay a package to teach you how to be a guru and none of that shit. Like, I'm still in the thick of it. Like, you won't see no master class. You won't see no master class for me.
Talk about the sacrifice, though. What sacrifices have you made?
Of time, for one. I mean, I'm missing my 8-year-old, her first softball game, my daughter's cheerlead, her games. I mean, just a lot of sacrifices. I always said, like, as creative I was early in my life, a lot of people used to say, you can move to New York, you can do this. Cheryse, you're so creative, you can do this. But I never wanted my children to sacrifice for my success. You know, I'd be like, I got a PhD and I'm a mom. You got to always think to yourself, with all those plaques on the wall, what did the kids have to sacrifice for these ladies to have all these accomplishments? And I was never willing to sacrifice my time and accessibility as a mother for my own personal success. But now I feel like was the time, because I have a daughter that's going into college next year, a daughter going into 8th grade, and a smaller daughter who her dad gets her every 7 days on, 7 days off. He's engaged and has twins. So I'm able to like dog it out for 7 days. And when she come back, kind of fully be present. So I've sacrificed a lot of my time on the finances. Me and my friend girls can't just sit around and shoot the shit and play tunk like we used to do. Like, have to constantly strategize what's next and just keep the business afloat.
I was just about to ask you that. Do you have a community of women behind you supporting you too?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I can't do nothing without, like, the men in my life, top tier, but the women in my life, like Black women, come the fuck through it. Like, even my homegirl that's in corporate, she's at Wells Fargo. And by the time Archive opened, she was like, listen, I've worked at retail before. The supply closet, people don't like working for people whose supply closet messed up. She was dragging in shelves. I mean, willing to put up her own money for it. The girl, like, Alma, Kenya, like, I'm on her days off. She'll notice like something in her spirit or feel something wrong. Cheryse, you could do it. I'm proud of you. Keep going. I mean, mind you, she's somebody who I gave opportunity to, but she's constantly pouring into me and praying for me and Kenya, making sure the organization and Archive is like stuff that you can't even pay for. Yeah, the women in my life are beautiful, and it's so important to me, especially not having a mom, having that extra love from your friend girls and the women around you. Oh man, it's a blessing.
Do you have any events coming up? Because I definitely want to attend.
Yeah, so I'm planning a book club again. I know the ladies mad at me because we had one good first book club. We watched the documentary of Toni Morrison. We've reading The Bluest. I said I was going to send out the questions, and it's been a month, but things have been crazy. So in December, the end of December, we'll have a book club meeting. I have a concealed carry class that will be here December 4th because I promote carry. I took me a 9mm. I don't play the game. And I feel like our community needs to be informed about firearms, know the safety of firearms, and be legit with it. So I have a firearm class here. And it's a lot of events that will be at the top of the year.
Oh, that is so dope.
So just stay tuned. Now we're going to post some on our website next week. So just stay tuned with that.
Man, well, I do want you to, if you could, for our audience, because I know they're going to be listening to this, they're going to hear all this good information from you. Are there one or two things that you could harp on when it comes to, and I like how you put in that you invest a lot of your time, and the time is the most important thing. And I know I was listening to this really big shot investor guy, made really good money, him and his wife, those two put most of the effort into it. He always talked about, man, I wish I could have more time with my children. Is there anything that you would do differently? And if not, why wouldn't you do it differently when it comes to creating and spending that time with the business?
No, I feel like I had created a balance for myself all summer, which the kids was out of school. Sometimes they came in thugged it with me, putting it together, like physically putting it together, collage in the bathroom and all this stuff. But
they helped you with the collage in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I'm gonna say this. That's like my favorite part. And I know people are like, "Oh, I don't like." No, it's like the favorite part of the business is the bathroom. But I love the bathroom.
Yeah,
it is awesome. Yeah. You done an amazing job.
People that don't design the bathroom is missing a design opportunity. Like that's a place that people gotta go. So you missing a design opportunity when you don't design the bathroom. So I used to collage suitcases like that with the hats and stuff. And so I knew I wanted to do gallery wall, but you see that everywhere, still in the floor frames. But I'm like, what would be a breath taker? Because everything else is so black and white, so minimal. Yeah. And so I knew I had to do that.
It just catches you. Go ahead. My fault.
Thank you. But to answer your question, no, I was strategic about my hiring. Of course, it's a new business, so I actually need to be present, meeting people, kind of setting the standard for my expectations of archives. Mm-hmm. However, I did staff accordingly so that I can be present for my kids. My daughter actually works here in the evening, so her school's up the street. She walks here and she works every day in the evenings. Like I said, my baby girl, she's gone 7 days on, 7 days off. Her school's up the street. So when she comes, she actually works on the weekend.
Wow.
So no, I made sure to know that I balance time because
girl, you sound like the Waltons. You got them kids, got them babies working. Get on this farm.
8 years old, she works the register. Like,
wow.
She knows what to do. Yeah, she knows what to do. Like I don't help her. She know how to greet people. Hey, how you doing? What can we get for you today? Yeah,
that's amazing.
She loved it. One day we went home and she said, what I like most about working mom. I said, what? She said, I just love to see the smile on a piece of people's faces. I said, okay, well, when you're the successor and you talking to your team, make sure that they know when you were 8 years old that you said that the most important part of you is the smile on the people's faces so you can always keep your value. Yeah. And so she's like, okay. But yeah, so that's cool to kind of be a teen mom. Yeah. And have Kaylee when I was 15 and be able to hire her is amazing.
Man.
Are there any collaborations you want to do in the future with anybody, like a field that you haven't tapped into yet?
No, I'm in conversation with the CEO of Ebony.
Name drop. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
So I would love to like do an official collaboration with it. I know Dalen out there at Jet Magazine. So I would actually love to do official collaboration or kind of talk them into possibly doing print once a year, archive collaboration. So just the OG tycoons and publications, I would love to do collaborations with Essence.
I think that's something that would work for them and it would be right up the alley. I think that's something that would work well.
Tag them on the post.
Sure.
Tag.
Sure. With HBCU, I would love to have an archive. My future plans is to have an archive in every city that an HBCU is in. So just collaborations with HBCUs would be amazing.
Girl, you about to blow this thing out the water.
Right. I'm proud of you. I'm not even I can't say it again. I'm proud of you. Like,
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much.
So can you tell everybody how they can find you on social media, website, everything?
Yes. So our website is archiveclt.com and my personal Instagram is CHERYSE TERRY, Cheryse Terry, and our archive Instagram is archive_CLT.
Also, your hours of operation. If anyone wants to stop by.
I'm open every day, actually. I'm open every day. From the weekdays is 8 to 6, and the weekends is 9 to 4.
Okay.
Dope. Definitely a place you're going to want to go and get you a good cup of coffee or other beverage, even a little pastry. But, man, just going in there for the vibes, man. It just makes you feel better when you walk in that place. And I know my brother was big on it. He's like, yo, you need to leave Columbia and go visit these other places. And so we were up there. I mean, he'd be talking trash to me. He's an older brother. That's what he's supposed to do. He beat me up. He was like, yo, we're going to ride over here and you're going to come here because, I mean, I recently got married and her family, they have a lot of family in Charlotte. And the one thing I don't do when I'm in Charlotte, and I thought this is always weird, I was like, man, I don't go to enough black businesses. Yeah, man. So I'm like, yo, let me get myself right. So he took me over there and I was like, this experience, bar none, was one of the best experiences I've had in a local business in a while.
Thank you so much. I say all the time, like us being black being black is enough to get you through the door for black businesses because we're curious and we naturally want to support each other. Yeah. But being black is not enough to keep to keep people coming. And that's what I tell my staff. It's like Black people, by default, they're going to come. But that's not going to make sure that they're a customer. Like their experience there will take them from curious to customer.
Yes. Yes. And you do have to offer a great experience. I know this is a big Carl Anderson point, is to make sure that your business is proper, that it is working correctly, that you have all your ducks in a row, because it's not just about getting Black people in there. It's about it being a business generally for anybody, that they can trust the product, that there's no issues with them, that they don't put you on a different status. Do you know what I mean? Like when they see you and they see Starbucks, boom, I'm going to choose Archive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
And I think the other thing too that I noticed too, and this is something I always harp on, and I always will, and hopefully I won't have to harp on it forever, but the way your staff treats everybody, it's the same. We have a problem in our culture when it comes down to us doing business, whether or not it's a storefront, whether or not it's us providing a service. We have difficulty, some of us have difficulty with maintaining a consistent level of customer service based off of where we see people at.
Correct.
Whether or not we see them as, well, I need to do a really good job with this person because this person's going to open a door for me. Whereas I just need to just give them what they need and they can go about their business. And that's one of the things that I sensed just from going in there, just from, like I said, just from interactions with the staff there, you can tell. Like it can be a stranger can come in, it can be their best friend, and it can be somebody they've never seen. But they always treat everybody at that same high level. And you could tell that's a culture that you've instilled in place, and that is huge.
Thank you. Well, when I hire everyone here, and this is my motto, no one will work for me more than 5 years. 5 years, you're out the door. Because I want to make sure I hire people that had aspirations of entrepreneurship. Because when people see your job is just a job, then that's how they're going to treat it. But I made sure I had a team of people that aspire to be entrepreneurs, and then more specifically have their own cafes. So this afforded them the opportunity to have their business, to own their own business while they're here. Kind of make your customers and just see what it's like to like run the show. I'm not in particular. I come from a corporate background. I worked at Bank of America for a while. I did Wells Fargo for a while. And although I could not stand that structure, like I'm not cut for that. I'm not cut for that. Just tell me I can't live with leggings. No. However, like I do respect how the structure was built and how customer experience was always the most important part of the business. So me being able to develop people and kind of like even in our meetings, I show my team numbers. Like why we can't do certain stuff, why certain stuff can't be. Like I'm not a gatekeeper of information, especially when I know this is an industry that they're interested in. Right. So I made sure everyone I hired had aspirations of entrepreneurship because it's a different level of drive that come along with it. And that's what the Omelet King and the other staff members.
Dope. Well, it's about that time. We're going to have to wrap up. But before we do wrap up, I know we had a little bit of shameless promotion. Is there anything else you would like to add before we?
No, I just think I want to thank everybody for supporting Archive this far and trusting us to be a pioneer in this type of space and hope that they'll grow with us. I'm just grateful to be chosen for the job, but it's not a one-person show. I need everybody's support and participation to grow and to sustain and have longevity.
I appreciate that humbleness, man. Maybe that's why everything's working so well. Like I said, it feeds down from the top. So what you're doing looks correct. I don't see anything wrong with it at the moment. If there is, I'll come and look. But everything looks good. So I do want to let everybody know in our audience and our audience and those who listen to our podcast that we want to thank, of course, Ms. Cheryse Terry for joining us today. We appreciate your time and your energy. We appreciate your business. We will be back to see you again. We appreciate Alma. And also,
hold on, wait. Yeah, this.
What's up, Alma? What's going on? What's good? What's good, Alma?
I'm a working girl. I was bragging about your customer. I told you it for the job.
Oh, man. She's such a sweetheart, man.
Yeah.
She's a good fit, man. I'm telling you.
Well, I just want to sign off. DJ and what? Skip, Tamaya.
Thank you so much.
Miss Terry. Thank you so much.
Y'all.
Everybody have a good Saturday. Y'all be blessed out here. Peace.
Bye.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Too.
Bye-bye.
That's it for today's episode of the Hilltop Glove Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Hilltop Glove.